What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to another video. We are in the shop because it is a fairly rainy weekend. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend, but we're jumping back on our Shorty build. It has been forever, it seems like, but we're getting back to it and we're diving in. Before we get to that, if you guys missed the last video, our 09 short bed G56 truck is Wrenchworks giveaway number 13. It is live right now and you have a chance to take home the keys and 10 G's to this absolutely sick, beautiful, fully built truck. I'm telling you, it's probably one of my favorites because it hits my feels, right? So 05 and the 08 mixed together is giving you this G56 short bed truck. It is absolutely killer, and you guys have a chance to take that thing home. I'm so pumped, but make sure you guys go to wrenchworks.com, support your boys, support the channel. It is the best way. Make sure you guys grab some of the new merch that's up there. The Only Manuals t-shirt, definitely one of my new favorites, but go grab something. One can never have too many black t-shirts, so make sure you guys go get entered to win the short bed truck. Coming to a close very soon, less than 4 weeks, but get entered. Appreciate you guys as always, but let's dive back into the Shorty build here. So I'm not gonna lie, it's a little overwhelming. We went so hard on this build so quickly, so fast. We devoted so much time to tearing this thing apart, and it's gotten to a point where it's just kind of stalled out, and we need to get back into it. We need to get back into a groove with it, and we just need to get back into it. It's a very difficult place in a project where you spend so much time getting it to a certain point, and then for whatever reason you have to kind of move on or do different things and stuff, and that's kind of what's happened here. It has been kind of put on the back burner, but it's just sitting here, it's calling my name. I hate seeing it like this, so we're diving in. The next biggest thing on the list is wiring. So before we can put our front end back together, our intercooler, our radiator, all of our supports and stuff like that in the front, what we need to go ahead and do and accomplish, and what I've been kind of like dreading doing just because it's not really fun or glorious work, is to repair our main engine harness. If you guys remember back, this harness has a lot of different issues with either pigtail connectors, broken wires, kind of like at connectors, frayed wires. So we have quite a bit of repair work to do in this harness itself. Now, I will say this, if you have a harness as maybe damaged as this one, I would definitely not recommend repairing half of your or all of your pigtails on your harness. You probably just need to go get a new harness. And if I had a new one, or one that we parted out, I'd probably be using that one, but we don't. And the other reason that I'm okay with repairing this harness as much is because we're gonna be doing some injector valve cover we're already splicing and cutting this harness up a decent amount to do this valve cover injector harness plug swap, which we'll get into. I know a lot of you guys are interested in this like 03, 05 valve cover on a newer truck, because you would normally have a valve cover injector harness that looks like this with the flat plugs. So we're gonna get into that a little bit. So I have to really do quite a bit of work to go ahead and do that nicely the way I want to, because if you guys remember, this is kind of what we're dealing with. So we're really just gonna go ahead and go all the way back to the main harness plug and depin it and repin that entire section of the harness. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about with, I'm already gonna be doing that, so I might as well fix the rest of it. Again, if this goes up in a ball of flames, not literally, but if the repairs don't go well and we still have issues, I'm gonna end up probably getting a custom harness eventually, but this is kind of like fast, easy, cheap, and I've already gotta do all of that anyway, so I'm okay with doing it. I wanna learn. This is not like my super area of expertise, so we're diving in. We're diving in and we're gonna figure it out, and I'll show you guys, I'll bring you guys along now. If you guys do need to repair a harness on your truck, I have a good solution for you guys. The guys over at FLEECE are really diving in head over heels in the electrical department. And if you have a pigtail or a harness or a connector that may have gotten damaged for whatever reason, they are pretty much coming up with a real easy solution for pretty much your entire engine, like a lot of different stuff. So their electrical department, they've got this crazy machine that spits out all these harnesses, all these pigtails, and if you have something that's damaged, I would highly recommend you go and check them out. So we're gonna be actually utilizing quite a bit of stuff from them to go ahead and fix the harness on this truck. Without them, it might be a little bit harder kind of sourcing all of this stuff. Like our coolant plug here is messed up. They make that harness, that pigtail right there. One of the sensors for the intake is messed up. We're gonna go ahead and do that. Your crank and your cam sensor down here always get messed up. As you guys can see, we've just got like a little frayed wire there. And again, there's different solutions for a lot of different things, but they make a very easy solution if you want a new connector, all that stuff. So we're gonna be utilizing a lot of that stuff to go ahead and repair this harness up. And again, if it doesn't work, we'll just go ahead and get a fully custom harness. But I wanna keep AC in this thing eventually, and we're gonna leave all of the factory stuff kind of in that. So here's where we're at. We're gonna fix what I can fix on the truck, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pull the harness out of it to fix maybe this wire to where it doesn't make sense to do it on the truck. Again, if you guys are fixing stuff on your stuff, you're probably not gonna pull the whole harness out to fix that. You wanna do it on the truck, you wanna do it quick, you're probably using it every day, so that style of repair is probably more up your alley if the truck is operating, running, and like, not everybody has their whole front clip apart and can take their harness off real easy. So that is where that stuff will come into play really nicely for you guys. One really nice thing that we did on the giveaway truck that I honestly completely forgot about when we were working on the Shorty is that air dog mount that we made to bolt basically right in this section right here. I'd show you guys, but we have our fender liners in there so you can't really see, but our air dog is nicely, cleanly hidden right in this location. As you can see, the sump line that goes right up to it. Look at the reflection in this paint. I'm telling you, boys, go get entered. Anyway, our air dog is sitting up here hidden very, very nicely. I totally forgot about that when we did the Shorty, so I really want to go ahead and move the air dog from where we have it, only because, again, we're getting into wiring, and we have our air dog wiring over here. I'm going to make a custom harness for that kind of routes very cleanly. But before I do that, the air dog's right here, and I want to put it right back here. And what that means is all of the fuel lines and the harness and everything like that are gonna need to get moved, because I'd hate to spend all that time hiding it and making it a custom length just to go ahead and move it. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I have stuff ordered for the batteries. The batteries are gonna go inside behind the seat in this truck. So we're gonna eventually get to that. But just trying to fill you guys in on all the little details where we left off on this truck. I am still very, very, very excited to get this truck wrapped up and done. We just need to get back to it. So if you find yourself in a similar situation where you have a project that you push real hard for a couple weeks, just know that you really just gotta dive back into it. Because I come out here and look at this thing, and it just sits here, and I'm just like, man, where are we even at with this thing? Like, I have no idea what I did and didn't do. It's just been that long. But you know what? We're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna get it done just like everything else. But anyway, I'm tired of talking. You're tired of listening. Go get entered to win the giveaway truck, and we're gonna get to pulling some wiring out, fixing some stuff. I'll bring you guys along, and then I will get into, in a little bit, this valve cover injector plug swap. So you guys can see we got 0305 valve cover, different style connectors here. I'll pull the valve cover off, we'll get to that, but I want to get some of this miscellaneous little stuff knocked out to feel accomplished before we get into that, because that is going to be a little bit of a thing. we're looking good on this harness, although it does look like quite a bit of mess. I am extremely happy on the way this is all coming out. So just to kind of refresh your memory and my memory and give you guys some helpful tips here before we get into the injector valve cover swap here. So a lot of this stuff I forgot. I'm going to sit down here. A lot of this stuff was actually just, I would say the sheathing on the wire was skimmed. A lot of the wires weren't broken. They just needed to be re-protected, and they weren't really damaged. If they were damaged, then I replaced the wire. Again, I think when you're doing wiring, and again, electrical guys, don't come for my neck. You know, we're very novice here, and I'm trying to give novice advice here. So the butt connector deal, you want the least amount of splices as possible. One solid wire from connector to connector is best case scenario, and that is why we are doing that on the injector to valve cover side, and the rest of it we are, I would say, quote unquote, repairing. So where the sheathing was messed up but the wire was still good and intact, I went ahead and just kind of re-protected, and where the connectors were messed up, and these are all some spare connectors, we'll get into that, I just replaced the connector because I would rather not, like, so this connector is a new one. This one was bad. This was this one right here. So this connector's messed up. A lot of connector, it looks like this harness was just left on the ground and somebody like stepped on it, kicked it, and a dog played with it. So this connector's bad for many different reasons, but it's broken right here. But the wiring, besides one little small scrape, wasn't bad. So what I ended up doing was de-pinning a lot of connectors and replacing them with either the new connectors. So it's a mixture of everything. The alternator connector right here, again, new connector. There was nothing wrong with the wiring. I would hate to introduce splices throughout this entire thing for every connector that it was just a connector problem. So I'm going to show you guys just one little tip on the removal of some de-pinning some connectors. So like this, I de-pinned it, I re-protected the wire and re-pinned it back into either the old or new harness. This one, wiring was messed up all the way back here, so I tried to offset our connections. So I only had to do that on 2 connectors, and that was, this one's for air conditioning, and you saw me do this one on the coolant temp sensor up on the cylinder head. That one's got splices right here. The rest of them, like this cam sensor, again, everywhere I have green zip ties is where repair needed to be done. This one was just missing a locking tab. Everything else was good, all the wires were good, so I just went in our old box of wiring from the 05 and stole a locking tab. This one, it was just skimmed right here. So I de-pinned that one wire out of the connector. Connector's fine, locking tab works, all that stuff. I've been trying to check all the locking tabs and the locking tabs and the safety tab. Let's put it that way. I've been trying to check those as I am going. Over here, this one was just skimmed all the way up. Again, the truck's a 2009. The wiring harness, yes, wiring does get brittle, it gets old. That's why when you're doing this many repairs, you might want to just go ahead and replace a lot of it. But in my opinion, I think we'll be okay. I could be wrong, it's happened before. So on these connectors here, let's see if we can find one. So every connector, and if it's this style, they're very all similar if they're the same style, let's put it that way, if that makes any sense. This part of this connector goes in here. I'm trying to do this one-handed. I'm not sure if it's upside down or not. So you got to pull this part out of the connector first. So when you pull it, that's how it's going to look, right? That's how the inside of this one looks like, as you guys can see. So you need to pry this up and pull this out. And this is just a very simple tool set that you can get pretty much anywhere. I'm not using any super fancy tools here, guys. It's nothing crazy, but this will help you kind of lift up the pins and the tabs and pull wires out. So make sure you guys remember that you need to take that little inside piece free first, and then you can kind of get to, they mostly unpin from this side, but again, they're all a little different. But if you have a little thing like that, that's probably where you're at. One other thing that I feel that has messed me up before in the past, this is your rail pressure sensor in the back of the rail. This right here, these swell up if you got oil in them and they go bad, and then you're not going to be able to get that connector back on there very well. Also, rail pressure, a lot of people try to plug this in backwards. If you look here, there's a slot and then there is a tab. See on this, you've got the side that would go into a tab, and then you've got a side that looks like a tab, but it's square cut. It's not meant to receive that other groove of the tab. So it does go in one way. What I'm trying to say is when you go to plug this in, and again, my engine's a lot more accessible, this goes to the side, and make sure that that grooved side goes to the tab. I've seen a lot of people try and plug these in, smash these on, and they don't realize they're only one-sided, because you can, if you're manhandling stuff, you can force that on there. So make sure you got the rail pressure sensor plugged in right, and make sure you've got a good, and when that swells up, it's really hard to get on, so just check for that. Other than that, guys, we're working our way into our valve cover swap. Now, I don't want to make a huge deal about this. Again, this is pretty advanced. They do make a company makes an adapter plug, but seeing that we're already this far, we're doing it this way. Some of these parts, pieces and stuff is not something you're going to want to get into and do and source. Not our official notes here, because we do have some wiring diagrams, but I was really just wanting to just double, triple check everything. So this is actually the way that this harness and this valve cover in this truck was operating right here. Now, these are the different plugs on the 0305. They group together 2 injectors per plug. That's why there's 3 plugs down the side of the valve cover. So I've went ahead and just double, triple cross-referenced the way that this was operating to the way that these wires are running into this valve cover. So each pin in here, I know where it goes into here. That way I can correspond these pins correctly to the ECM the way that the other truck was functioning. Really, you've got 12 wires, 2 per injector. You just have to make sure that this wire is going to the right pin on the ECM. It doesn't matter what style of valve cover connection that you have, whether they're flats and have 6 and 6. All those 6 flat connectors are going in here, so you just need to make sure that this corresponds to the ECM correctly, and that's what we've kind of done in my notes. So you can see that these are all twirled together. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again, this is what kind of stemmed the whole entire thing going forward. I'm like, I got to repair that, and I like the 0305 valve covers. And instead of adding adapters on adapters, we're already in here, we're already this far. So I have to unpin all of the connectors that go, or I'm sorry, unpin the pins that go to the ECM, and we are gonna run all new wires and new connectors, and I have to do all these pins from the injector side to the ECM side. But I've got my notes. Again, wish me luck on that one. I would say a little bit of time later, but it's probably a significant amount of time later, but our harness is ready to put back in the truck. We have done our injector rewire on the ECM plug side, and we've left some slack for all of the connectors on the engine side just to make sure that we can basically put it in, see how we're gonna loom it, run our slack, get everything good, and then we will kind of mark all that down, and then I can really pull it back out. So we need to put it in at least one more time I think I got one more thing that I might need to shorten right here, but I've got the injector stuff, maybe that one thing, but we're feeling really, really good. Again, you can reverse engineer that the way I was kind of talking about, or you can also kind of do both, and that's kind of what I did. So all I did was kind of use our multimeter to check wire to wire, wire to wire. I marked everything down and also cross-reference that with the exact wiring diagram for the VIN of the truck. So you can see we've got a ECM pin out for this connector, which has all the injectors in it, and it will actually give you the color code and the pin. So I did them one at a time, or like two at a time, or I should say just an injector at a time. I would pull them out, put the new ones in, I would label them on the end of this here, so I know exactly injector number one, these wires were the factory wires, I know where the pin out was, and then I cross-reference that down to our 3-plug style with the way that I kind of use the multimeter on the engine side. So I've got everything marked down 1 through 12 in accordance to what the truck gave me, according to what the diagram gave me, and what I physically saw with the color of the wires, the pin out location, doing them one at a time. So I feel very good about it. Boom! We are done. Woo! Well, we are all done, wrapped up. She is looking good. I'm excited. I'm ready to put this thing in the truck, install it, but we are wrapped up, good to go. I'll go over some of the stuff that we used. Again, shout out to Brian, Battleship 67 from PA. He helped a while ago with some recommendations on some stuff. I've talked to a lot of different people about stuff like this, so you know, it's not by my own knowledge that I came up with some of the supply, stuff like that. The only thing that I would change about what I did as of right this second is I wish I would have used, where I had to splice in the wires, wish I would have used like some uninsulated butt connectors and then heat shrink over them. It got a little bulky in some of the sections where I used those red butt connectors, but no big deal. It still looks good. It still is as neat, tidy, and as tight as possible. But you guys have heard me, I think even in the last video that we did, the AirDog harness. This is the split loom that I'm using. Again, Amazon for the win. Alex Tech split sleeving. Go ahead, just get like 1 or 2 in every single size. And the tape that we're using, this is, again, you can get it right off Amazon. But you know, amateur hour, I think we did pretty good for amateur hour. So I'm gonna put this in the truck, and I believe it can be installed, honestly, for the final time. got our harness installed. Everything is fitting good. Couple issues, couple tweaks, no big deal. Got everything installed over here. We have yet to add some P-clamps, but you guys can kind of see exactly how that is gonna run, kind of like the factory harness would. And over here, I try to put you guys in the best view possible. What I ended up doing was spacing out the distribution block just a little bit. As you can see, the harness kind of runs behind it, so there's enough slack behind there. It's not actually pinched or anything like that, but everything's connected, everything's good, everything is looking good. It's looking very minimalistic, which is very nice. And like I mentioned, the injector stuff running up here through the kind of like intake shelf area. This horn, this valve cover, this fuel line, and this plug and this connector right here, as you can see, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I tried to force it in there and it broke the connector right here. So we need to go get another new connector piece for the valve cover harness because I broke it, because I was trying to wedge this in here. This is a very, very tight fit. I'm not even gonna get into it, but we broke it, which kind of stinks. But you'll have that on them big jobs, but it's nice. You can see, runs along here. You don't see anything coming over the top of the engine. Now our dipstick tube looks absolutely atrociously in the way, so we'll probably have to get like a flexible style dipstick tube, but there you have it. There you have it. I did not intentionally mean for this video to really just be completely wiring, even though that's kind of like what it ended up being. Hopefully you guys found some tips, some tricks, and helped you guys in some way, shape, or form. But that is pretty much gonna wrap up this video. We're gonna continue to plug away on it. Like I said, we gotta relocate the air dog, we got fuel lines, we got a little more wiring. I forgot about the trans fan that we didn't have mounted, so definitely some wiring to come from the back of the truck to the front that I want to account for. Battery stuff should be in very soon, so we'll get to that as well. We're gonna keep plugging on it, I promise. Guys, before you guys leave, don't forget you have a chance to win. I'm serious, probably one of my favorite builds. Just hits a soft spot for me, a mixture between my 05 and my 08. G56, I know you want to win this bad boy. Make sure you guys go to wrenchworks.com. Every dollar that you spend counts for entries towards winning that beast. Make sure you guys do that. And one can never have too many black t-shirts, I promise you. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you in the next video very, very soon. See ya.